Deadly viruses often fester inside animals before they move into human populations.
Track every diseased animal, particularly chickens, so as to contain an outbreak before it becomes a pandemic.
Is using technology to try to stop outbreaks before they start.
One that can jump from animal to human.
And then is it safe, which all could be questioned in a disease outbreak, especially if the disease could impact humans. For example, you could actually contract a disease from eating an infected animal.
You don't see empty shelves too often.
Certainly bring uncertainty to folks. And I think one of the things that history has shown is that when people don't have food, nothing good happens.
This is a terrifying scenario. Without proper safety measures to protect against major disease outbreaks, farms across the nation could be in grave danger. If this continues, food security could plummet, leaving consumers out to dry. The customer blowback from this could have long-lasting effects on business. It hasn't happened yet, but it's only a matter of time. Is your farm protected from a catastrophic level event? If not, you and your colleagues need to prepare. Why not educate yourself about catastrophic level events using a game? Project S.W.A.R.M is a game-based learning tool that trains players to prevent and contain a catastrophic level event. Inspired by serious games like Oregon Trail and Stop Disasters, as well as entertainment hits like the Civilization franchise, Project S.W.A.R.M teaches players the tools and strategies needed to combat an extreme outbreak, from biosecurity measures to 3D response activities. Players will face a variety of disease response challenges as they play through several scenarios. But how could a game teach, you might be asking yourself? Andre Thomas, founder and director of Texas A&M University's Live Lab and previous head of graphics for EA Sports, is here to tell you about game-based learning.
Well, learning through games is interactive, unlike other media that are very passive, like a book, hearing a lecture, or watching a video. In a game, the learner is fully interactive. It's highly experiential, it's problem-based, and it's safe to fail. We're learning more through our failures than we are through our successes. And it's not just safe to fail, but it's also many times fun to fail in a game. And well-designed learning games incorporate different aspects, like a narrative, a story, into the game, some random elements. I've almost achieved something, or I just missed something. Because in reality, learning itself is fun. It's a very fun activity. We all, as human beings, like to master a new skill, new knowledge. And when we do, that's very gratifying. And games can really enhance that gratification and multiply the enjoyment of learning when we do so in a fun environment.
And here's Dr. Jimmy Tickle from the Institute for Infectious Animal Diseases on why he approached the Live Lab.
My primary reason for wanting to make this game was that in our previous attempts to train people through conventional exercises, we couldn't capture the entire scope of all that was occurring in such a way that it seemed real to the participants. And so they got lost in basically the puzzle pieces instead of understanding the puzzle as a whole. And we thought using gaming would be a way to capture more of the experience of what an actual event could be, and then expand our ability to train across the entire event rather than just focus on one.
With these insights from the team at IAD, we can make a captivating learning experience. In Project S.W.A.R.M, players take charge of a command center, working with farms to achieve objectives based on learning outcomes. They request resources for response teams and determine changes in strategy or new technology to help farms reach and maintain required goals, such as specific biosecurity measures. By playing through several scenarios, players are challenged with a variety of disease outbreak situations and other obstacles. In this example scenario, the player has received reports of foot and mouth disease outbreaks across the map. As part of their goal, they must choose a vaccine strategy based on farm types and layout. The vaccine they have access to must be kept cold until it is given to the animals, but they don't currently have cold chain stability technology. It has to be researched on the tech tree, where the player selects cold chain stability. While waiting for the research to complete, the player scrolls across the map to see if there are any infected farms nearby. There, that indicator tells the player there are animals on this farm with potential symptoms. The player clicks on the farm to see what biosecurity measures are currently in place, and there aren't many. They'll need to request a response team from the command center. This team is dispatched to the farm to take samples and help implement new safety measures. When the response team arrives, the player asks them to take samples to verify the disease. Next, they help implement strict biosecurity measures. If a disease is found, the farm is quarantined. The player can send other teams to help the farm with depopulation, disposal, and decontamination to prevent further spread. As the scenario advances, the player can dispatch more teams from the command center to address possible contamination in nearby farms. They will complete herd plans and train producers on vaccination and animal identification. That alert tells us the cold chain stability research is complete. Once enough farms have biosecurity plans in place, the player dispatches a vaccine across the map, so the farmers can then identify and vaccinate their animals. The impacted farms and animals are now protected, bringing an end to the outbreak in this scenario. Even a short scenario like the one shown here needs to go through a production pipeline before it becomes a final deliverable. The production pipeline for Project S.W.A.R.M begins with a list of learning objectives. When these have been determined, pre-production, where the genre, game loops, and more are decided, begins. Designers create mechanics to teach and test players on the learning objectives. Then they and the programmers create and iterate prototypes. These help test mechanics for efficacy and fun, while artists work to define the look of the game. Project S.W.A.R.M is currently in the prototype phase. When the team is satisfied with the prototype and instructional designers have reviewed the progress, the game enters production. Engineers work with the designers to establish the base rules, also called the engine, of the game. Tools are created so designers can develop scenarios. Artists create art assets so the game looks its best. QA testers make sure the game looks, plays, and feels just right. After a lot of hard work and playtesting, the game enters its final form. For Project S.W.A.R.M, the deliverable could take any number of forms, from a downloadable game to a browser-based experience. Project S.W.A.R.M's development has been entrusted to Texas A&M University's Live Lab, a research lab with multiple released educational games under their belt. The Institute for Infectious Animal Diseases has worked in conjunction with the lab for over 2 years to provide expert input into the game's learning elements. With the help of other industry leaders, we can make Project S.W.A.R.M a premier training tool, providing you with a way to ensure we're prepared to face the next disaster together. For more information about this exciting, ongoing project, please contact the Institute for Infectious Animal Diseases.